Hello again, and welcome to part 2. Now I'll sum up the Germany portion of our presentation by going over the student teaching and certification process into the German teaching profession. These two sections are very different than what we know here in the States because the major written exams are given in the university before the teacher is placed into the schools. The results of the final written exams indicate a teacher's readiness for the practical world of teaching. Results are used to strategically place the future PE teacher into a school and position to best fit their learning needs. For example, if I test weekly on classroom management strategies, then I would be placed with the cooperating teacher who is known to have strong classroom management skills. Results of this exam are shared with the mentor teacher from the university and the cooperating teacher in the school to prepare effective student-teacher learning goals. Once this written exam is complete and student teaching begins, there are no more written exams. The exit exam is practical and oral, which I will go more into detail in one moment. The student teaching and exam process is called the Lehramtsreferendariat, which is actually 3 words. Lehr means teacher, Amt refers to the bureau or governing offices for teachers, and Referendariat translates directly as trainee. The goal of student-teacher training is to acquire the knowledge and skills necessary for qualified teaching. 2 of the main focus areas of the student teaching process is on stress management skills and lesson planning competency. The length of student-teacher training is 2 years, broken down into the following 3 sections. The first is called an internship. This is where the student teacher just merely observes the cooperating teacher for 12 hours a week and helps out when needed. The second phase is the apprenticeship phase, where the student teacher copy teaches and attempts to recreate the cooperating teacher's lessons as they have planned them. In total, the student should complete 20 lessons during this portion. Each of these first 2 phases lasts 6 months for a total of 1 year. During this year, the student has a mentor from the university who makes occasional school observations and meet at a weekly seminar where they can meet with the professor to plan and assess issues that arise in the school placements throughout the year. The final phase is called independent teaching, where the student teacher takes over the cooperating teacher's class completely and implements their own lesson plans. This phase lasts 1 year and is accompanied by 13 weekly online lessons monitored by their mentor teacher at the university. Now keep in mind that regardless of which grade level the teacher chooses to become certified in, they do spend time in all levels within the observation and copy teaching periods. Their student teaching year, however, is spent in their chosen grade level. Successful completion of student teaching requires recommendation of readiness for employment by the mentor teacher, the cooperating teacher, and the lead professor for student teaching. Once a potential teacher has achieved this, they are ready for their final examination for certification. As I mentioned before, this is not a big 4 to 5 hour written exam like we're used to here in the States. This exam process includes an observed lesson along with a 15-page lesson plan, an oral reflection immediately after the observed lesson, and a class project presentation. For the observed lesson, the student teacher turns in their lesson plan a week in advance to all the observing parties. This lesson plan is no more and no less than 15 pages, and the observing parties include the university mentor teacher, the cooperating teacher, and a representative from the state as a neutral party. Immediately after the observed lesson, the student teacher has an oral reflection on their lesson to be discussed with all observing parties. This means that the lesson could have went perfectly well or not well at all, as long as the student teacher can name their strategies, identify why they did or did not work, and set an appropriate adjustment for the next lesson. They show passing competency skills. The third portion of the exit process is a project presentation. This is a student-led class project which the student teacher integrates into their normal unit lesson plans. This is very similar to what we know as project-based learning. The presentation includes the class project goals, objectives, standards covered, otherwise skills taught, what the end product looked like, and finally a student-teacher analysis of the project based on actual class data is presented to show proof of learning success of the project in the class as a whole. Once the student teaching, observed lesson with oral reflection, and project presentation are successfully completed, a student teacher graduates into becoming an independent, employable physical education teacher. Thank you for listening to the student teaching and certification portion of the German PETE process. Tschüss!